But taking a look at Jaguars OTAs, we just saw Trevor throwing a little bit to Evan Ingram down the seam, Mac Jones, C.J. Beathard. Somebody asked me a question the other day, like, hey, C.J. Beathard going to be on the roster in the fall? I can't imagine. It's going to be Mac Jones and Trevor,
I mean,
right?
Ideally what you want to do, then you could practice squad him, but he's going to catch on someplace else.
I would think so, and you can save, I think, a couple $1 million now. It depends when or how much you'll save, I guess, whenever.
And they'll probably bring another guy for it, because you want to usually have 3 quarterbacks on the practice squad, ideally. So they'll probably bring in another guy or some guy they already have. Exactly.
Yeah, but because, I mean, the bottom line is you're going to be paying a lot to your quarterback room.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. And it is only like $2.5 million, which I say $2.5 million, but in the NFL, I mean, and they've got plenty of room.
Yeah.
So whatever makes it work,
right?
If they feel comfortable about it. Remember, those guys are tight. You want good situation.
I mean, I'll tell you what, just watching that Joe right there at Devon Hamilton, the back looks good so far.
Yeah, Devon Hamilton was a bit of a story last week when asked Doug, and he said he looks more like the 2022 version.
Yep.
I think he's an interesting player, and so are those guys right there, right? Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma.
Oh, working on some alignment, Brent.
Hey, do you see different body from Lloyd? I mean, doesn't he look big? He looks like Greg Jones there.
Dude does look huge, yeah. It's a good call.
He looks really good.
Yeah.
I think he said he added 10, 12 pounds.
Yep.
But doesn't he look like, is it because of the 33? He looks like Greg Jones.
He does look like Greg Jones. Yeah, face and everything, man. Yeah. Stature, dreads, that's Greg Jones.
Hey, man, he looks good.
Yeah.
He looks good.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see. I mean, obviously, I think this was by design, right? If they ask him to maybe do a little more on the line of scrimmage in terms of blitzing, in terms of rushing the passer, we know that's what he wants to do. That's what he was successful at in college. So hopefully Ryan Nielsen can take some of that and use it in his defense.
Well, this is going to be a fascinating peek now, and as you see Foye looking too, it's going to be a fascinating look to see if Devin Lloyd, who, you know what I say about a guy like that looks the part this time of year, although he's always a very good-looking player.
By the way, cast on, are we cool with that? Is that okay? He's got a brace on his hand.
Is that on the left?
That's on his left hand.
It must be why he's got the jersey on.
Okay.
The red jersey.
Okay.
That will be something that gets asked about, I guess, next week now, unless it was asked about today to Doug. I'll have to go look it up.
I mean, the fact he's still out there leads you to believe it's something serious, but...
Yeah. He maybe dinged it up a little bit last week. Marcel's saying, yeah, that's the cast that he noticed it. So,
okay.
Off-season wrist surgery.
Okay.
I guess did we miss that? Or is that new today, Marcel? You can tell us if that's new today. He's like texting me. But
Ryan Nielsen says, get in there and start holding the dummy. I don't care how your wrist is feeling. Oh, what, we just paid you? Yeah, go and hold this dummy a little bit with that wrist. I didn't hear about it.
Surgery? Huh. He had it last week too, I guess Marcel said.
Okay.
We didn't ask him about that when we had him on.
Sure didn't. We're not doing our jobs, Brent.
Must have been minor procedure.
You'd think so if he's at OTAs right now practicing. Brent.
Yeah. But that's why he's wearing the red jersey. But back to Lloyd, because I think Lloyd, I've said this many a times now here on the show, Lloyd is a big part of this, I think, of potential where to take the defense, because he's a guy that can be a rising player. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see if a guy like Ryan Nielsen can get him to that next level. So that's one thing. That's Ryan Nielsen and the coaching staff and the new look defense and the scheme and all those different things. But then the other part of that is what I see when I see a player that looks like he's added weight, looks like Greg Jones all of a sudden. And again, he's always been a good-looking
specimen,
athlete, right?
Yes.
But when to me, that shows he's motivated. He's locked in. He knows it's a big year coming up for him, which I like that. I like when the players have a little edge to them.
Yep.
As you take a look at Brian Thomas Jr.
Be still my heart, my beating heart, Brent. Oh, I didn't give him the ball, though. I just saw that motion, though. You like that? See how he started out in the Hey, Brent, started out in the slot, went to the outside.
You're hard to have a conversation with right now. You're
Why?
getting too excited about every way that
I'm sorry.
moves.
Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows now telling me to calm down. Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows telling me to keep it within reason.
I tell you, man, I like the way Brian Thomas Jr. moves, though.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a fluid player. That's a good term.
Yeah.
For an offensive guy, right?
Yeah.
I can't get over how much I feel like I'm going with player comparisons today. Okay. I have Devin Lloyd and Greg Jones because of the way they look, number 33, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I said this last week, Brian Thomas Jr., man, he looks like Calvin Ridley to me.
Like in the motion right here, using 2 tight ends, motioning them over both those tight ends at the same time.
Don't give away their secrets. Indianapolis might be watching.
What are you talking about? I mean, everyone can watch this at practice. This isn't nothing. Oh, Brent, they went in motion. Indianapolis taking notes right now, you think? Come on. You think Gus Bradley is salivating at our talk show right now? Oh, I saw that.
They might be watching.
Okay.
He's in town.
Okay.
Roy Robertson Harris getting some work in.
Yep.
Marcel Robinson showing us a little bit of everything.
This is fantastic.
Hey, you know that we just saw a guy that continues to be a mystery of where he's at, what he's doing. Is he on the team? Like
Walker Little?
Yeah.
What a camera job by Marcel
playing
right
left tackle.
Sure.
Right now with on this rep with Ezra Cleveland there, and obviously I'm assuming Mitch Morse at center.
Brent Stranger at fullback. I'm not going to make a big deal about having a fullback now because Brent doesn't want me to get excited, but I just saw a fullback in the backfield. I saw I formation, which we haven't really seen a lot in Jacksonville, but I'm not going to get crazy. Brent doesn't want me to. But.
Yeah, only a couple of these periods open in OTAs. Brandon Sheriff back with a restructured contract. There is Mitch Morse. He's a big dude now.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, that's a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
The Jags got grown up on that offensive line. I mean, you've got guys like Sheriff, who obviously is long in the tooth, but still has it. And then you've got Morse, who's been around the league for a while. I like that on my offensive line. Just got to hope they are able to perform. Mm-hmm. But I do like that.
Yeah.
Who are we getting here? White, the receiver.
86.
You got a roster in front of you.
I mean, I wish I did. Yeah.
90 man. The 90 man in front of you.
Yeah.
So here's a look from Marcel Robinson, by the way, at Jaguars OTAs. A couple of things coming out of there. Doug Peterson talk. We're getting some sound queued up for next segment. You can hear from him and Press Taylor. Talked about the evolution and continued growth of that guy right there, Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And also the play calling, whatever it takes to win, was kind of the headline, at least that Marcel tweeted. I don't know the full context of it. We'll play it for you in a bit. But, Press Taylor, interesting news conference, kind of to get his thoughts on that, on Trevor, on this offense, what it looks like. Because I'm telling you, one thing that still hasn't been discussed a lot this offseason, because we don't know, is the fact that Trevor Lawrence said when he talked to the media about a month ago, maybe even a little bit more, that we've tweaked some things. This offense is going to look a little bit different. What does that mean?
Yeah.
We won't know until probably August or even September, but I'm fascinated by what that could mean.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated as well. I mean, are we going to have, did you go a little more of a balanced attack? Because, listen, we're all infatuated now with this receiving core, with Trevor Lawrence making some progress, right? Maybe getting a new contract. So we're all infatuated with the receiving game. But, what we kind of fail to talk about sometimes, what is run game going to look like? And I get it. Like the pass game is a lot more sexier, right? I mean, run game, okay, you can only do so much in it. But I'm really curious to see, in terms of percentages. I mean, I assume it's going to be a pass-first team still with Trevor, but, you see Mitch Morse now coming from Buffalo, having played in an offense that was pass-first for a while. Then they switched coordinators and became more of a run-first oriented team. And once again, not going to over-exaggerate it, celebrate, get excited, but did I just see a reincarnation of the Wisconsin Badgers with Brent Strange at fullback in the I formation? I really did. Okay, but I'm not gonna dive on that too much because I'm not gonna lose my mind here, Brent. But yes, the camera did show Brent Strange at fullback, so I wonder if we're gonna get more, power I kind of formations just to kind of pound the rock a little more, get those 3rd and 4th and 1s, but not gonna over embellish things, Brent. We'll see. I want to tell you right now, I'm keeping it together so well because the inner football guy in me wants to go to the rooftops right now, throw a parade, and say we're going high formation. We got fullbacks back, Brent, making fullbacks great again. But nope, got to keep it within reason.
Well, I think you should.
Mm-hmm.
What I wonder about because you joked about the fullback when I brought this up a couple months ago. Will the Jags steal some kind of concepts? Will they evolve from what San Francisco's doing? Mm-hmm. Because San Francisco's offense is all over the league now, and not fully with the fullback usage, but they do use it. But if you look at Houston, a lot of the same principles, right? If you look at some, the tree is spreading, that Shanahan tree, to get this, I think, a new wrinkle or new offense that we seem to have not figured out on the defensive side completely. Now, some of that people will say because San Francisco is so dynamic with all their tools. I get it. And you can now say that about Houston, but keep in mind, Houston didn't have the tools until they had the offense to prove they had the tools. So I don't know which came first there. Did they just have the tools and we didn't know about them? Did they have the ingredients? Or did the offense make the ingredients look maybe even better than they are? We don't know that. And so I think that some of those principles, see, that's where I'm leaning. And again, the fullback thing might just be a little sidebar here of joke. But I think when you ask what is going to look different, what's going to evolve, can they take some of those principles? And by the way, what did the Jaguars do this offseason? They went and got the long ball guys. They got Gabe Davis. They got Brian Thomas Jr. We here in Jacksonville are used to that offense looking a little bit more horizontal. We'd like it to look more vertical, like to use the middle of the field a little bit more. Well, the Jaguars got some of that verticality in their offense by just the players, ingredients that they got. I wonder if they morph their Andy Reid, Doug Peterson offense into a little bit of some of the principles, some of the concepts of what we're seeing around the league like San Francisco and Houston.
Listen, there's a reason why Kyle Juszczyk in San Francisco is the highest paid fullback in the NFL. And there's a reason why, set aside from him and maybe Ricard, I think in Baltimore, are the only guys that actually know how to play the fullback position.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're actually used. And when we talk about San Francisco, I mean, yeah, San Francisco, they're so dynamic, right? You have Debo, you got Ayuk, you got Kittle, you got the best running back in the league in Christian McCaffrey. You have a quarterback who doesn't turn the ball. You have a lot of things to like. And by the way, a pretty solid offensive line as well. But to me, the X factor and the unsung MVP of that offense is Juszczyk. Because, yeah, if you see usually a fullback in I formation or in the backfield, it's going to be a run, right? Well, with Juszczyk, it doesn't have to be because he has the receiving ability, number one. And number two, you can do a bunch of things with him. Now, once again, it's just one play that we saw in an OTA. Will we ever see Brenton Strange in the backfield again? Maybe not. But I think it does speak volumes to the fact that you have the opportunity now, if you're the Jaguars, to use Brenton Strange as kind of like a Kyle Juszczyk type and say, hey, Brenton, you're a pretty good receiver, right? You play tight end? All right, well, go block this guy here on this I play. Okay, good. It's a run. We'll keep you in there. Now let's go out on a little bit of a screen, or let's put you out on a rollout or something like that and see what you can do. Like, to me, I think Brenton Strange is a guy where you wonder sometimes, where's he going to fit? Obviously, it's the Evan Ingram show right now in terms of the tight end position. You can go two tight ends and use Brenton Strange, but this is a guy who I think, has to take another step here, Brent.
Yeah, he does.
From where you drafted him, from what expectations are said to be. You put him in the backfield a little bit, make him a fullback, make him an H-back, then you might have something.
Listen, I think players evolve. I think coaches evolve. I think that's kind of the fun of it, by the way, right? I mean, it's kind of reinventing yourself. I look at what we do in our business, right? I just said to somebody over the weekend, this is the fun. We start this new network, trying something new. You get rejuvenated about it. A lot of work that goes into it. You're not even sure where it's going to land, but hey, it's fun. I think we do that. I think people do that in their line of work. I think the Jags, as players, do that. Everybody's got a different kind of offseason plan, what you're working on. We just talked about Devin Lloyd. He kind of reshapes his body even more coming into this year. But I think the coaching part of this can go two ways. I think you can be stubborn in what you do because you know it works. And it's a very fine line between straying from what you are and who you are to evolving along with the game. And so that's where this kind of stuff will be interesting to see if they said, we got to do things a little bit different. Did they take a hard look in the mirror? Because what one thing that's very, they can't get lost in the 8-3 and the collapse of last year is the Jags overall on offense disappointed. And it was even from the start. Even when they were 8-3, a lot went wrong by the end when they were losing. The defense went wrong, the tackling went wrong, the offense went wrong, the injuries went wrong, everything went wrong. That's why you lose 5 out of 6 to end the year and collapse. But there wasn't this offensive explosion. This offense wasn't in sync. There were problems with the offense front to back last year. And so that makes you rethink things, reevaluate things. One quote I saw coming out of Press Taylor, I don't think I used Tank Bigsby enough. I went back and looked and said, we got away from him. We should have used Tank Bigsby more. So even in that one admission, what else did they admit? What else did they see? What else are they going to evolve into? I think I don't know necessarily if this is going to completely look like Doug's offense from the last year, last 2 years, last 5 years, last 8 years. Now, you can't totally stray away. You can't change completely. But the evolution of what he does here, I think, is pretty important. Just because the league moves, your players are different, and what you did for whatever reason didn't seem to work. So if that's an educational part of it, the teaching part of it, the schematic part of it, I don't. The emphasis part of it, I don't know. But we're going to see a little bit different approach, I think, one way or another, starting right now and into the season.
No, without a doubt. And this is a copycat league. And listen, I mean, we saw this years ago when the Wildcat was a thing. Miami started the Wildcat. What happened? Every team wanted to do the Wildcat then. So, like, teams are going to copy each other every single year in and year out. And I think right now, in terms of the offenses that you want to look after and copy, well, I think the 49ers are up there at the top of the list. Like, everybody wants to be the Miami Dolphins. Well, no one really has a Tyreek Hill to be the Miami Dolphins, right? So it's hard to mimic what the Dolphins do just because, well, do you have their speed? Well, no, you don't. Now, the 49ers, obviously, like, do you have a Christian McCaffrey? Well, probably not. He's probably the best running back in the league right now. But you can have a comparable George Kittle. You could probably have a comparable Brandon Ayuk. And I get Debo, what he can do is really versatile, but from a receiving position, you can maybe have a little bit of a Debo Samuel. So then what does San Francisco have that a lot of teams don't have? Well, it's the fullback position.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens. It's funny. I thought you were joking about the fullback position most of the time, and then you kind of morphed into, yeah, we should utilize it. Like, this is real deal. Like,
well, yeah.
And you have the player that potentially, and that tight end morph. And
I'm seeing video now from OTAs as well, where Evan Ingram's actually lined up as a fullback in one play. So, and this is like everyone can see it.
Well, and here, hey, the one thing I loved about the Jags offense 2 years ago in 2022, and I don't know if I remember Ingram lining up back there, but Kirk would line up in the backfield sometimes. You would have, and again, I go to Agnew, and I know probably folks, you're not as high on Agnew as I am, but I love the fact that they use the eye candy and the decoy stuff and the behind the line of scrimmage stuff. That was stuff we haven't seen around here in a long time, or maybe since I've been here, or maybe ever. Like, we just don't see it. Well, they were mixing stuff up. And then with the Kirk stuff, they would line him up back there, then have a different set. Maybe he'd move out of there, or maybe he'd start back there. But you're creating mismatches is what you're doing. If they use Ingram in the same way, we already know he's a mismatch wherever he lines up. Now you're doing the same thing potentially, or you can utilize him in that fullback kind of role. But you're making defenses think. For so long, when you played for the Jags, when I've covered the Jags for many times, and this is what I really love about Doug Peterson, I can't remember too many times the Jacksonville Jaguars offense made the opposing defensive play caller think a lot. Maurice Jones-Drew was a dynamic player for them. You had to defend him. You had to play. You had to guard against him. You had to have meetings about him. But it was also, he's going to run the football most likely. You got to go tackle him, and he's a tough guy to tackle. The Jags, I think over the last couple of years and maybe going into this year, have they could go A, B, C, D, E. Like, they do a lot of things. And by the way, we respect the hell out of Doug's mind. Watch out, he might get you. Which, again, goes back to Doug play caller makes more sense. But that's what I like about this edition of the Jaguars. That's what I like about this more offensive identity, the players that they have on, the versatility that they can do. And also, they have something that they also haven't had since I've been here, is they have a quarterback that can kind of do it all. Like, he can make all those kind of throws, whatever you want him to do. And I feel by in year 4 has a very good understanding and relationship with the coaches about what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And I look at this play from Trevor Lawrence, too, that somebody posted. Essentially, it's a 2 tight end formation. They shift both tight ends at the same time, and they have Evan Ingram at the fullback position, and then they have Luke Farrell come by the other side of the line of scrimmage. It's a play-action pass. They fake the ball to, I think it's ET. I can't really tell who's back. There might have been Tank Bigsby, but Ingram at fullback, and then they go deep shot to Brian Thomas Jr. Once again, like, do you take a lot into account because it's just OTAs? Like, I get it. You're trying some new things out. But I also think that OTAs are a great way to start establishing identity a little bit of what you're trying to do. You know, so this could be a trend. This could be a thing going forward where they maybe use different formations with 2 tight ends, use a fullback every once in a while, and just keep defenses on their toes. Like, I'm reminded back when I played in Jacksonville here, and the team that I hated playing against more than anybody was the Houston Texans. Because the Houston Texans, and Aaron Foster was a great running back, right? Undrafted guy, I think he's undrafted out of Tennessee. The quarterbacks was like Matt Straub for a while, but they had great tight ends in Owen Daniels and Garrett. They had Wisconsin boys, is all I remember. They had great tight ends, but the thing that sucked against playing the Houston Texans year in and year out was their ability to sell play action. Because as a defense, you get comfortable when you know, okay, is this going to be a run or a pass? And some teams had to tell, okay, well, if they bring a fullback in, they bring 2 tight ends in, okay, it's going to be a run for sure. I think the Tennessee Titans do this a lot, right? I mean, you know what the Titans are trying to do with Vrabel and Derrick Henry? They're trying to run the football. It's pretty obvious. It was never obvious with the Houston Texans because you had to respect Arian Foster, but then, oh, crap, now it's going to be a play action. Defensive line gets on their heels a little bit, and now they have time to throw. Oh, Andre Johnson, go up and get it. And that was the team to me that always stuck out in terms of, like, they didn't have necessarily the best athletes. Like, Foster was good, Andre Johnson was good, but, like, in totality of weapons, the Texans didn't knock your socks off. But what they were so good at was selling play action. So my point is if you have now some formations, if you have some looks on this Jaguars offense where it's like, okay, are they going to run or pass here? Well, that's going to help Trevor Lawrence out. That's going to help the receivers out. And that's going to put the defense behind the 8 ball a little more.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about that kind of stuff and the mixing up. Now, we'll see. Again, there's closed periods and OTAs for a reason. They don't want everybody talking about and seeing this if everything's changing. What else are they doing in the closed periods, right? That the cameras aren't rolling in. And that's not just now. I mean, this is kind of installation, walkthrough, get reps kind of time of year, which also could change in the future, according to the NFLPA and a report out from Tom Pelissero. So we'll go there when we come back. But I guess we'll get a real good glimpse of this, not really until September. Nobody's going to just show their cards if things are changing at all, which, again, you'll go into week 1 of the season where the Jaguars are playing the Miami Dolphins. And I think there'll be a little bit of a guessing game about how the Jags have evolved. How are they going to use other people? What are they going to do? Every team has it. I think that's why week 1 is so weird in the NFL because you don't really know what to defend, know what to look for. You can be surprised. Will we be surprised or will it look the same? I think we're hoping we're a little surprised with some of the same stuff too because it's not like everything's been bad on offense. I mean, people are mentioning Travis Etienne. Heck yeah, get him the ball. But can you complement him now with Bigsby? Can you get more of the power game in there? Can you utilize these other guys in different ways where you have a lot of versatility? So there's a lot to look forward to on the offensive side. This is still an offensive team, in my opinion. Talk about the defense all you want. Has to be an offensive identity when you have Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence leading your organization.